You can check them out occasionally on ESPN.com. And they seem to be trending toward a point where we would see them more on television. And then they lost back-to-back games. But we have them each week, and we have them a day early this week. It is Rob Domofsky on Wilde and Tausch. Rob, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Jason. I'm actually just about to finish off my, I think, third story of the week. So it's been a busy week here. Now, two of them were about Devondre Campbell. Actually, four, because I had the Joe Barry story that they're retaining him, two Devondre Campbell stories, and then I'm writing a piece for tomorrow on, and I hope people kind of realize that not that this is tongue in cheek, but the story that I'm writing for tomorrow is, if it's not Joe Barry's problem, then what is the problem on defense, right? And that doesn't mean that I think it's not a Joe Barry problem, but if Matt LaFleur said the other day, if I thought that was the solution, then I would have done it in terms of making a change. Mm-hmm. Well, if it's not him, then what is it? So I've been looking at some stuff, statistically, anecdotally, all that other stuff, and came up with a few things that it might be if it's not Joe Barry. Again, I still think it's Joe Barry, though.
Yes, you've been very clear.
You've been crystal clear. Rob, Jason, I don't want to put words in your mouth. And he didn't say this isn't the only reason, but he said he didn't think Joe Barry was fired because it's close to Christmas.
That's not what I said.
See, Jason.
Say?
Jason, this is why we don't talk to the media. They always take our words and twist it.
That is so good. But Jason, you said something similar to that. Don't tell me you didn't.
Yes, I also said that I think he didn't fire him because he thinks they can win these 3 games, and he didn't want to upset the apple cart to fire him, even though he probably believes, based on how he acted after the game, that he needs a new defensive coordinator, and it's probably going to be next year, and that it's going to be a time for a change. But he didn't want it. But yes, it's Christmas time. He likes Joe Barry. In addition to the other reasons, I'm sure the fact that he didn't want to fire someone at Christmas. Again, Rob brings up the whole Mo Drayton thing all the time.
Yeah, but as long as we're talking about Christmas, the day after the Carolina game is Christmas. What happens if the Panthers put up 30 against these guys, right? That's Christmas.
Well, no, you don't want to fire anybody before the New Year. I mean, what are you doing? Joy, you got balls dropping. You're not going to fire anybody.
His birthday's in January, and Valentine's Day is in February.
Can't fire him in that, yeah. You can't.
March Madness will be ruined.
You can't.
He's Irish. You can't fire him in March.
Madness. You can't fire him then.
St. Patrick's Day, Easter. I mean, you can't fire somebody in April. It's Easter.
No, you got Flag Day, Memorial Day. It's just there's never a good time to let go of a coach.
Flag Day might actually be good.
Well, in fairness, in Matt LaFleur's world, it would appear that there is never a good day to get rid of a coach because he has not been willing to do it. It is very difficult for him.
Rob, did you think after listening to the press conference after the game, like some on this panel, and I know he doesn't want to admit it, that Monday was going to be Deuces B to Joe B? Did you feel like it was coming, and were you surprised when that was not what was told to you on that Monday presser?
Tausch, I am sitting in my office at Lambeau, and as soon as I finished writing my story from the game, I went home and I sat down. I was going to eat some dinner, and I go, you know what? I better write a Joe Barry is fired story so that I had it ready to go. That's how strongly that I felt about it, that I went home and wrote about 800 words on Joe Barry being fired, and I can read you exactly what the lead of that story was. And again,
Before he does this, I just want everyone to know that Rob liked what a good job he did on this story that will never see the light of day, that we are doing him a service by allowing him to share the story.
It's right next to that Dunkin' Donuts Ricky Francois article that Wilde wrote.
Some of my best work has never seen the light of day.
If you guys were smart, and you guys are smart, I don't want to mean it that way. You guys should publish your unwritten articles when you're retired.
So, Tausch, last year I tweeted the beginning of the story that I had written when the Packers were going to make the playoffs about how they saved their season and turned it around. And when they beat the Lions, they would have made the playoffs. And because that they never made it, I figured, well, this was a good story. So I tweeted like the first like 3 graphs of that story, and I was like, oh, okay, this story's too good to go to waste. So keeping in mind that I thought this was going to happen the day after the game, the lead of the story was the day after Matt LaFleur said it wasn't the right time to consider changing defensive coordinators. The Packers coach did just that. He fired Joe Barry on Monday, less than 24 hours after Barry's defense got shredded, LaFleur's word, by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
it's good
now I think what I'll do. So now what I think I'll do, Tausch, I think I'll rework this in a couple weeks. And I'll say 3 weeks after Matt LaFleur said it wasn't the right time to consider defensive coordinator.
That's well done. That is well done.
I'm not going to let it go completely to waste.
Oh, yeah. Too much work.
Got to recycle. It's very important to recycle. Rob, you were there, and then you left when Devondre Campbell arrived at his locker out of the shower and proclaimed that he would not be discussing anything on the internet.
Anything that happened on the internet, that was my favorite part of it. Anything that happened, you made it happen. Like that was my favorite part of the whole tweet.
Pretty limited what you can talk about too.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this?
Well, first I'm going to say 2 things on this, Jason. First of all, I actually give him credit for showing up in the locker room. Like, he showed up, right? And then we approached his locker right at the end of the open locker room session, and it was supposed to be closing. And he said, okay, what do you all want to talk about? And, we asked him about the tweet, and that's when he said, I'm not talking about nothing that happened on the internet. And I made a little bit of a dramatic showing, but I peeled away and I left. I left the scrum. I was right in the middle, front and center, and I made a dramatic exit to make a point was, if you're not going to talk about that, there's nothing to talk about. Like that's the only thing to talk about. Now, maybe I was being a little dramatic because I do remember
a little divish.
I do remember one time going to Bernardo Harris way back in the old locker room, and there was something controversial around the team. I think somebody had popped off and then got cut the next day. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we all went to Bernardo because Bernardo was kind of the spokesperson for the defense back then. And Bernardo said, yeah, I'm not going to talk about it. And then we stood there for 20 minutes, and for 18 minutes of it, he essentially talked about it, even though he said he wasn't going to talk about it. So maybe I peeled away prematurely with Devondre, but like I kind of made the point. I tried to make the point was, look, I appreciate you coming here, but if you're not going to at least explain your words, then I've got, I don't want to say I've got no use for you, but I've got no use for you in this situation.
That's the line you have for Brad Jones. All right, so let
Brad Jones. Hold on 1 second. For those of us watching on television in my office, we have a Brad Jones autograph photo that Jason found at Goodwill as sort of a gag gift for me because I once told Brad Jones that I had no use for him.
That did occur. So in the Devondre Campbell saga, Tausch, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you thought we maybe made a little bit too big of a deal.
Don't talk to the media, Tausch.
Yeah, I know you should.
Right? You felt we made too big of a deal of it?
Well, it's a frustration that he vented, and again, you shouldn't have, but it's really easy from our seats to tell people that they shouldn't when they are getting attacked and they don't feel like it's a fair attack. Yeah. But you can't leave questions for your teammates. You just can't. That is cardinal rule number 1 when it comes to dealing with the media.
Yep, don't create distractions for the locker room was Mike McCarthy's whole thing, right? Like you don't want to do that, which was one of the things that Mike was really good at. Here's the thing with Devondre. All he needed to do, or all I guess I would have done in that situation, is just say, "Hey, look, I was talking about the media ripped me, or the fans ripped me, or the coaches gave me bad grades, and I shouldn't have said what I said, but you can't make that comment and not, at least explain who you're talking about." And I just think with everything that's gone around this defense, with Jair's whole saga, that everyone insists is injury related, yet seems to be, a sticking point or a point of contention for a lot of people in the organization. I just think that it did exactly that, Tausch. It created issues and questions about whether guys in this locker room, have given up, whether LaFleur or Barry have lost the locker room or any of those kind of things. And look, I would say this, when you have a team, you're 53 guys on the roster, another 16 on the practice squad, a handful more. I mean, you're talking about what? 85 players total. Like, not everybody's going to like everybody. Not everyone's going to like the coaches. You can lose players on great teams. There can be malcontents on great teams. So when you say losing the locker room, that's a little bit of a, it's a little bit of a catch-all phrase. There's plenty of teams that, are doing really well that have 2 or 3 players that think their position coach is an idiot or their coordinator doesn't know what he's doing. So to say, the whole losing the locker room thing, I think is a little bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah, and that was kind of my point, Rob. There's a day, and everything moves so fast. And I know Devondre's off the internet. I'd love to be off the internet. It's going to be over. Like the world moves on real quick, and if you're not on the internet, there's going to be another storyline of something else. Probably if Jair talks today, or if Joe Barry's talking, something else is going to come up, and it's going to push this back, and everybody's going to be focused. And when the game is played Sunday, it's all going to be forgotten.
Yeah, I don't know, Tausch, if you think this, but I kind of find it hard to believe that anything that's written or said in the media Monday through Saturday has any impact on the game Sunday. I don't think it really does. But
I will say this: I think in the grand scheme, no. But there's a reason people say bulletin board material, and when you're talking about things that are razor's edge competitive wise, the focus will go up with guys when there's certain things said or done, and anytime you can gain a little edge in anything. And especially in this business, I do think it matters.
Yeah, the situations that I guess I've probably seen it matter are when a team is attacked or a player is attacked from the outside, right? Like that's when guys, if let's say the media or a reporter or an analyst went after a certain guy for something. And guys really liked him. They rallied around him, and it caused sort of a galvanizing impact. But this is not that situation. This is a situation where it was instigated from inside the locker room, not the other way around.
Self-inflicted.
Yep.
Yeah, self-inflicted.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, my point is, if you're bothered by the people on Twitter who post video of you playing and say you're washed or time to give it up, brother, if that was the impetus for this, and for you to go out and announce that you are no longer going to play through injuries because you don't want to deal with people who are jerks on Twitter about it, that I have a problem with. And that's why, Jason. Yeah, that's why, Jason. I just wish he would have explained who the they was in that sentence. Like, right.
If it's the coaches and they're downgrading him, on the film, I think maybe he's got a fair point there.
Sure.
Sure.
But if it's just the media and analysts and fans, then I don't know. That's what you get paid for, right? Like you're making the big bucks, and with that comes criticism, and it's just like it's like with us too. I mean, like I me, I tried not to look at the comments whenever possible, and I think I've gotten better at it. Although every once in a while, I still see one that prompts me to reply. But yeah, I mean, like that's part of the gig.
All right, your first year on the beat, my second year on the beat, the Packers went to the Super Bowl in San Diego. I've told this story many times on the media bus to Qualcomm, Jack Murphy, whatever it was called then. A young Jason Wilde said, I don't see any way the Packers lose this game. Do you see any way the Packers lose to the lowly Carolina Panthers on Christmas Eve in Charlotte?
I wouldn't think so. I don't know if I feel as good about this as I felt about games where the Packers have had a good team. Like the crazy thing is, like, the Broncos obviously were a really good team. They got to the Super Bowl, yet I felt better about that because I thought the Packers were really good. This one is a really bad team that they're playing, but yet the Packers are flawed. So if it makes any sense, I would feel a little bit more uneasy about this than I would a game like that. Or even remember the game, was it 97 or 98 when they went to the Colts? The Colts were like 0-10.
97.
And the Packers, that same season, the Packers got beat. They were probably had one loss at that time, or maybe they were undefeated. I can't even remember. And they lost to an 0-10 Colts team. I mean, like that, those are ones that, you don't see coming because the Packers are really good. This one, because they're not so good, you almost have to at least keep that little shred in the back of your mind and be prepared that it could happen.
Tausch, can we let Rob go? He's got to get ready for practice.
It's Christmas time.
I got to get to practice here in like 10 minutes.
Get to work, Rob. Get to work. Don't
right,
avoid Devondre Campbell.
Send us some more of your
let
unpublished
us know
work.
what Rudy Ford has to say today.
We'll do it. All right. See you guys.